Tracy, if that's cool, like a description of your trip up to Oregon, and then we'll get going on the Q&A after that.
I made 50 miles from Portland, Oregon to Salem, Oregon to the state capitol from an encampment up there that's been there even longer than first they came for the homeless. Is that being audible? Anyway, I made the whole trip juggling on the unicycle. There were 28 people on foot and about 5 people on bicycles and a big support crew. They're talking about making it an annual event, which would really hook it up. The people inside of the Capitol were actually very responsive to us. It's hard to say whether or not they were actually going to do anything about what was said, but most likely they won't. In any event, that's the report back. The most significant thing that happened there that I observed myself to bring back to us, which is a little more important, is the fact that the state up there conceded a piece of property to us. We need to follow the exact program that happened there and see if we can make the state do the same thing here. That's something I'd like to really look into.
Let's see here. Do you two have any introductory remarks? Would you like to make some remarks before we open it up to the Q&A?
Yeah, what I can do is I can state that we lost the court cases, all 3 of them. So, you know, the biggest one that hurt the most was the Fourth Amendment case, and now homeless people all over the city are losing gear, actually all over the country. It's going to be revisited by a different group, but until then, until we get you know, something from a federal court, Berkeley and all the other surrounding cities are going to continue stealing everything the homeless people have if they don't follow every direction that the police give.
Okay, if anybody has a question, you can raise your hand and we'll get the mic out.
That was too close. Is this? All right, I have a roving mic, so raise your hand and I will bring the mic to you. Sorry about that. Any questions?
Move a little. Oh, okay, this way. So I was wondering, some of you said that, at least one of you said that you were involved in the Occupy movement. I'm wondering what your feelings were in the aftermath of that. You know, and also, what do you think it's going to take for us to change our society generally? Is it going to take mass civil disobedience, and what could it take from the House to help this situation or to see radical change? Also, I'm just curious, like, given your experience, what's it going to take for people to actually take radical action? I mean, I feel like a lot of people are still too comfortable to act. So just your thoughts on those things.
As far as who we are Occupy SF. The main group that founded First They Came for the Homeless participated in the 9-month occupation of the Federal Reserve from February 28th through, I believe, Thanksgiving. The core group that was down for the fight, they're the ones who stuck around, and when the post office asked us to come to Berkeley to help, we became, you know, a force in Berkeley. That's where we met music and a lot of the other people. As far as what is it going to take, it's going to take civil disobedience, but a targeted disobedience. We won this because we targeted money. We're not gonna win as long as we let money be the deciding factor in everything. If we go after their money, they don't like it. If we don't use money, they don't like it. They want us to be enslaved to their system. So you got to break all the rules, all of the rules that they have you boxed in with. You got to think outside of that box, which is what the homeless people have to do just to survive on the streets. So when we targeted the police budget and we targeted everything that they you know, we just sucked every penny that they wanted to throw at us, and they didn't realize until too late that that was the mistake. Any group can do what we did because they're going to all respond the same way. First, they're going to increase the force to try to shut you down, and then if you keep growing like we did, they're going to have no choice but to give in a little bit. It's been 2.5 years. We have not really won anything. The camp is still there, but if you take a look at what Berkeley has done in the last 2.5 years, you'll find out that they've actually tightened the screws on the homeless a tremendous amount.
I know someone mentioned radical change, and you know, that's right, that is what we need, because apparently the old way is not working. And you know, I came back here to be, I'll be honest with you, I came back here to be a real estate investor, you know. And you know what I learned from the time that I started till now? A lot of these people, they don't show any sign whatsoever of remorse about having to put anyone out of their home. Foreclosures, yeah, we love it. Pre-foreclosures, yeah, we love it. Ghetto neighborhoods, tired landlords, yeah, we love it. Money. That's what they're thinking about. Money. They're not thinking about people. They're not thinking about the fact that these are people's homes or that this is where they, you know, can effectively have their children under a roof, even if it is being trashed. You know, they're not looking at it that way. They're just looking about it from, you know, the standpoint of money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my behind off as much as I can. No, I will not touch any foreclosures, nor will I be putting myself in any sort of situation where I have to ask anyone to leave their home. But I'm going to work as hard as I can, and I will make the money to, and this is going to sound really extreme, but I'm going to build a skyscraper because it costs maybe $30–40 million to build a skyscraper. And yet, I was just reading, apparently LA, just LA, spends $619 million a year on homeless services, and yet, they're even worse off than we are. You know, so it should be a no-brainer. Skyscrapers are huge, and most of the skyscrapers around here are chock full of offices. What if we put people in them? And what if, I don't know, maybe this sounds crazy to a lot of people, but what if instead of giving people crappy housing, food stamps, and welfare money every month, what if you actually invested in the people and put the people back into, you know, productive society instead of leaving them to die on the side of the road? But then, you know, what do I know? I'm just another homeless person. There you go.
What I told them at the state capitol in Oregon was that what we need is something like a rent freeze right now, statewide, and don't give anybody a chance to raise the rents. Let's do it this minute. Or how about this, a vacancy tax? These are just a couple ideas. There's so much they can do. What they're doing is nothing. What we really want to do is get them to do something, like anything.
Stacy, could you talk a little bit about some of the successes you saw in Portland and how people can support those types of things here? Because I know they had some victories.
Wow. I'm really sorry. We could have had some photographs here tonight. I kind of got back a little bit sore. 50 miles on a unicycle can be uncomfortable. But there will be some forthcoming. In the future, we will definitely have all this stuff.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, go for it.
There was a really fascinating article I read a couple of years ago where they actually instituted a program in Salt Lake City where they basically house the homeless people, and they crunched the numbers on it, and they found that they saved money. They saved money on services, emergency services, jail, everything, it all actually worked out in the favor of the people who have money to do this. And it's actually an illustration of the insanity of the way our society is run right now, because they think that being abusive of people actually is productive, and they don't understand that ultimately human rights are something that benefits the entire world. Human rights, species rights, the rights of nature, all these things actually make long-term economic sense.
Any other questions?
It's not a question, it's just an announcement that there's going to be a city hall, a city council meeting on Tuesday, starting at 6, this Tuesday. And they want to cut out the funding for the quarter meal, for the breakfast, for the Dorothy Day House, and I believe also for the youth spirit. What's a quarter meal? Okay, John wants to tell you what a quarter meal was.
I don't know. You tell them.
I think what it was if you could pay a quarter, you could have a meal there. Anyone who's homeless could pay a quarter and feel like they were having a meal under the rights that were given to them, but they could also get it for free. So people have been lining up on Bancroft for years and years and years, and they've been able to eat. And one of the things in Berkeley is that people have been able to eat and drink. They've been able to drink water, milk, juices. They've had this provided by the people, the city of Berkeley. Now the city manager wants to cut that out. So if everyone could come on Tuesday at 6 o'clock to the City Hall meeting and protest. This is inhumane, just protest.
Thank you.
So again, it's this coming Tuesday at the Berkeley City Council at 6 p.m., right?
John. Hey,
So I want to first congratulate the filmmakers on the premiere of their film. This is an amazing and wonderful piece of work about our local struggles, and I think that it's a really important and powerful piece. My question is, how do you plan to distribute this for movement building purposes as well as in the festival circuit game?
So Anka and I got a small grant recently, and part of that money will be used to screen this film at other camps, but we're still in the planning stages of that, and we are looking for help from other groups who can help assist us with that. And yes, Anka, do you have any comments on distribution beyond that?
Yeah, basically, we made this film as a tool to raise money for homeless group, for homeless camps. So the idea is, in collaboration with other groups, other somewhat organized groups, we want to organize community screenings as a way to fundraise money for those groups. Again, if you have any suggestions, please talk to us after the screening. We're looking for groups to collaborate with, and so far we're pretty busy setting up this screening, but we're ready right now to open it up and set up a bunch of other screenings. So that's one way. We also submitted it to a couple festivals, but For me, it's way more important to like bring it to camps, bring it to people, and spread the word. And also, like in a way of bringing it to camps, like my idea is flyering the whole neighborhood, kind of a meet your neighbors situation. Like come to the camp, meet your neighbors. Don't be scared of people who are living next door to you. They just don't have the door that you have, and you only have the door because you can afford it. So yeah, help us make it happen. All right, there's another question.
This got Joe.
Okay, can we do this? Okay, let's do Gerald and JP.
It's hard to get away from the fact that there is a wave of privatization just hitting us from every possible angle. For instance, I just pick it. Hello? Okay. Of the teachers in Union City, and constantly, they're in a different situation from Oakland, but in Oakland, the whole question of Proposition 39, forced co-location, where a charter school can come on to a public school. If they see an empty room, that's our room. That's the law right now. It can change. But so the attack on education is key, and that's part of what's behind these teachers fighting back, because they're literally trying to undermine and destroy public education. I met Mike at the post office thing, and it just dawned on me, we should know this. People say, well, they're doing something, what can I do? You do as much as you want to do to help people. Now, they were out there every day. Ed Dial, would you just put your hand up for 1 second, sir? I used to accompany Ed, and we would take them food. We take them some food. And that, it just dawns, Amilcar Cabral, a famous African revolutionary, pointed out for every single guerrilla that was in the field, there were 10 citizens in Africa supporting that guerrilla. For every activist that's out there trying to fight the 1%, there has to be other people helping him, or we can't survive. We can't win those battles. So the public housing thing, they're trying to destroy I'm from the projects. So I see when they're trying to destroy public housing, that's where I grew up, 1020 Trinity Avenue, Forest House projects. The support, also now we see People's Park is back on the agenda. They've cut down over 20 trees in People's Park. They are definitely making a move to reclaim that and turn that into housing. Everywhere you look, we're seeing this stuff. The support for first they came for the homeless was absolutely inspiring. When you see that elderly black lady that was in that film, when they came for the homeless, they got a big surprise. And that is that the South Berkeley community came out and supported these brothers and sisters. And I tell you, I have never seen that in my life. And it's not a short life. I had never seen that. And that really made me understand the seriousness of this matter, and that the working people are about to understand and act on the seriousness of this matter. So what can you do? I'm not homeless, you'd be surprised what you can do. Take a minute, talk to these people, find out what they're doing. They'll let you know. Everybody can help a little, and a little for them is a lot. Thank you very much for listening.
I want to say something on this real quick. In the audience right now, Ed, Carol, JP, these are the people that supported the 17-month occupation of the post office, and from that occupation came Liberty City, came the Shattuck Avenue chalking, which triggered the set of laws that they finally ended up passing. But what we did started because a handful of people they supported the insane homeless that figured they could just live on the sidewalk in front of Staples for 4 months and try to shut them down, and then go sit on the post office because, one thing you learn when you're homeless, if you don't want your property to get stolen, you literally have to sit on it. So we sat on the post office for 17 months. That's what developed First They Came for the Homeless into a movement. There was the basic support, we got known, and then we took the next step when we started Snub by the Hub and the Poor Tour. That protest would never, ever have succeeded if it hadn't been for the people in the community that were there for us. And when we arrived in South Berkeley, we found a community that was already fighting. There was nothing new. These guys have been fighting for years, and they're still losing the fight to the gentrification. But they've got the spirit that gives the homeless hope. And as far as what can you do to help a homeless person, all you got to do is make eye contact and let them know they're alive. The biggest thing that we fear as homeless people out there is the abuse, the looks that we get, people walking around to get away from us, people crossing the street. And that's just, the non-physical. There's also physical abuse out there. You get kicked, you get stuff thrown at you, you get spit on, you get set on fire. These are the things that a homeless person has to deal with. If you're a woman, it's a totally different thing because then you have to deal with predators on the street. When you walk up to a homeless woman that smells like urine, she didn't pee her pants because she couldn't make it to the bathroom. She peed her pants to stop herself from getting raped. These are the hard facts of what's out there on the streets, and this is on Berkeley streets too. It's not Oakland, it's not San Francisco, it's every city, USA. The abuses don't change. The homeless people need housed people to help them. The housed people need to recognize that the homeless people are the victims of what's going on. I lost my health. I didn't lose my sanity, and I didn't get addicted to drugs. Most of the homeless that we've helped, and there's been over 100 that we've gotten into housing, these people are just people who fell through the cracks. These are people that are looking for an opportunity. These are people that recognize the need for stability so that they can make good decisions. That's not allowed in our system. The police are currently reducing the homeless to 9 square feet. They're chasing them. They're threatening their gear. This is going to end up killing a lot of people. The only way that we're going to change it is that each one of you goes home and contacts as many people as you can and shows up Tuesday night. You're not going to change anything unless 1,000 of you guys show up and scare the living shit out of those people. If you don't do this time next year, and we're talking in the last 365 or so days, Berkeley has lost 16 homeless people. 16. When we made the Poor Tour, it was 5, and then it increased to 8. Now we're at 16, it's 3 years later. For the 1 year after the Poor Tour, not a single homeless person died in the city of Berkeley because the cops didn't have the ability to really go after them. So that you can see the connection is there, and it's literally genocide. The actual numbers got counted this year, and we're looking at over 50,000 homeless people in this country died last year. Okay, mostly exposure, drug-related, alcohol-related. But the truth is, the drugs and the alcohol that are out there are the escape from the systemic torture that they're putting the homeless through, constantly chasing them, constantly under threat. You guys have got to just get the word out. We, as a movement, we recognized that they're killing us, so we're going to go ahead and fight. All of the homeless, all of the seriously disabled that participated really did risk their lives. And some of those people are still out in tents 2.5 years later. The hub, it's a joke. As far as my personal story, they put me in a shitty apartment that the roof leaked more than it did, in the rain outside. It was in the paper. 2.5 years in my unit, and I still have a leaky shower, and I can't take a shower. So these are the solutions. The city of Berkeley is not doing its job. The only job it's doing is supporting the BID, allowing the business districts to regulate everything, allowing the money to dictate policy. And the truth is, there's tens of thousands of people that are at risk, and those are the people that need to get out in the streets, because those are the people that are going to change things.
Hey, so the Here There camp despite being evicted by BART, has been amazingly stable and successful for like 2.5 years now, I guess. I'm just wondering, are you guys aware of any other similar success story anywhere around the country?
Portland's got a very nice camp.
Yeah, there's several homeless camps out there that have been around longer than we have. Some of them just fell too. Some of the ones in the state got raided last month. The truth is, we're not allowed to last. This type of a solution will never, ever be allowed because it doesn't make money for somebody. You know, you've got poverty pimps that are out there running things, and they get paid to keep people homeless. So when a homeless group comes up with a solution that, first off, doesn't cost anything but a porta potty and trash service, you know, we're what, $1,200 a month to house 20 homeless people, and nothing else. You know, that's it. That's all that's needed. And that's obviously not the right solution for the city. If it was, camp wouldn't be sitting next to a road. It would be sitting on a piece of property, someplace secure, someplace near services, someplace near a bus line. That's all we need. And this one camp of 20, you break it, and you put one in each of the districts of the city, and suddenly you got almost 200 homeless people being dealt with. There are literally that many seniors and disabled out there that are in jeopardy right now.
There's a nice piece in Eugene where the people got together and actually purchased a piece of property, built tiny houses, and put a bunch of people on there. They set it up with a nonprofit so that it's permanent. There's a piece that's similar to that in Seattle where they did the same thing. I'm not exactly sure how they got the property. It was a little bit different than the process they did in Eugene, but apparently it's also a private piece. There's a similar piece in Portland that was actually done in the 1990s. And at this point, there's several other camps in Portland also. The one that we actually were a part of when we did the march from Portland to the Capitol was Hazelnut Grove.
Suppose the city of Berkeley was to come up with a proposal to create a urban campground that would be open to visitors, tourists, homeless, anybody who wanted to camp out. You have an opinion as a homeless person if the city would come up with such an idea?
Okay, as far as anybody coming in, that'll never work because you'll get overrun by drugs within 24 hours. You need to have the rules that we have in place, and it needs to be done in an orderly fashion. Every time we've had a camp, such as the aquatic park camp, that was rapidly expanded, you know, as far as numbers, we've lost control. Aquatic park ended up turning into a drug camp, and the city ended up raiding it. Here There is working mostly because Stacy's busting his ass to make sure things are being done right. You know, but we've got a core group of people that are in there. Each camp needs that core group to succeed, and you can't go too big in numbers. We decided between 20 and 25, it's manageable. If you get 50, 60, 70 homeless people together, you're going to have chaos at some point. Drama spreads too quick, violence will end up happening, and then the drugs and the alcohol can sneak their way in. There's just too many people to watch.
Hi. So I just want to introduce you to the elderly black woman who was in the film. Her name is Miss Richie Smith, and we call her the mayor of South Berkeley. And it makes my heart sing to tell you that she and I belong to the same organization, Friends of Adeline. And we are committed to doing whatever it takes to fight back against the city's brutal and inhumane policy towards homeless people. For those of us who've been in this struggle for a few years, it's perfectly clear that the city's only plan is to make people leave, is to get rid of them. And it's not acceptable, and it doesn't make any sense because the number of homeless people, as we all know, is growing every single day. So I just want to agree with whoever said, you know, I think it was this gentleman back here, whoever said that just do what you can. Go where you see homeless people, talk to them, offer them help, and be ready to help when they ask for it.
It's good to see everybody. So one of the things that I really appreciated about the work of First They Came for the Homeless was that it wasn't just about housing, it was also about lack of health care and lack of food in our culture and lack of connection with the earth, and working on all those things with community garden and lots of different possibilities that we had to find healing and mutual support with healing in different ways. And as this epidemic of houselessness and poor health care and poor food continues, I wonder how, Mike, how you're seeing those things now.
As far as the movement goes, we kind of got turned into a homeless camp that is different in the way, diet and such, or an organic, or recommend the organic. We have not done the community garden like we wanted to. The community garden at the post office is still there though, and boy is it wild. It's huge. You guys need to go. It's on the east and west side of the building, fenced in. It's all food. And it used to be organic. I don't know what they've done to it since then, but it's incredible. We advocate diet. Organic it's a definite must. You got to get off the pesticides and the GMO. One of the things that kept me going, and I weigh less than 100 pounds while I was on the streets, was that I stopped eating the crap. And that I met people like Carol who showed me that there's other things besides a pill that you can take. And some of the things that she gave me kept me going until the police stole my stuff during the Poor Tour. 2 weeks after they stole the stuff that Carol had me on, I ended up in the hospital with pneumonia. So just to let you know, this whole thing has been an education for me, and what I'm taking from all of you, I'm passing on to the homeless, and I'm hoping that what the homeless are giving me, I'm passing on to you guys, because it's like there's a wall between the housed and the homeless that needs to come down. When you come right down to it, we're all the same people. We just need to figure it out. We've forgotten. They keep us divided by color, by sex, by, political party. It's a load of crap. We're people, and we're losing, There's one group of people that are the enemy, and that's the elite, the people who are sucking us dry. Those are the people we need to concentrate on. We need to do something to target their money, such as a national strike. You want to watch things change real quick? One national strike in this country, and all of a sudden, new regulations that'll help the people will start showing up.
Hello, so I would like to know, how do you guys deal with liberal Democrats? Like people call them who call themselves the resistance, but I call them the assistants, man. Because in towns like Berkeley, in California, in Los Angeles, there are all these Democrats and there are all these homeless people. And California is suffering from the biggest housing crisis in its history. And yet, they want to try to blame homeless people for being homeless, or poor people for being poor. How do you do that in a way where you let people who are these big Pelosi supporters and...
I was already thinking that one way that you defend homeless people, if you're housed, is to expose the people who are poverty pimps, who are pretending to be helping people, and it kind of makes everyone feel like, oh, it's all taken care of, there's a shelter, they have clothes, they have whatever, so if they don't access that stuff, it must be their fault. And I see that in the little town where I am, it's like everybody can say, oh, there's a mission that is awful and restrictive and religious and only holds like this many people, but people can do nothing house people can do nothing because they can say, oh, there's a mission, it's okay. I don't know why these people are out here on the street. And then they sort of inadvertently or whatever support the police raiding them on all that stuff. And so I think defending homeless people includes house people exposing, like when you talk to homeless people who know, exposing poverty pimps, exposing programs that are bullshit, that don't really help anyone, and they hold this like false space, you know, so there actually isn't that help coming to people. And also just, you know, I'm an old cop watcher too, but just, you know, to be visible about your disapproval when people or businesses or cops or whoever are shitting on homeless people, are being mean to them, and also even telling businesses that you won't, you know, go to their business unless they are kind to homeless people and stop not letting them use their bathroom or whatever it is. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. And that actually reminds me the story, Anna, you were telling about pizza. Could you bring it up for a second? About the pizza place that's refused to serve homeless people.
Oh my goodness, Papa John's. So there's this Papa John's that's on Shattuck next door to the Starbucks, sorry. And apparently the manager, his name is Sonny, he's been working there for years. And like he's a complete schlemazel. Like he'll take all the high-paying tip deliveries, like he'll take them away from his employees and then send them on crappy, well-known, no-tip-giving delivery jobs. And then, so he instructed his employees that if any of them served the homeless people, even if they had money, then they would be fired. And so he was caught on video saying this. And so I did what, you know, I usually do when I see stuff like that happening, and that's I got pissed off. And so me and a couple other people started chalking all over the sidewalk and exposing them for their BS and getting people to like not walk in there. And then it got to where they were spending all of their time trying to dump water when we were already in a drought to begin with, but they're dumping water all over our messages, and they're spending all the time doing that, and then there's lines gathering, they can't even do their stuff, and then they're all like, man, this line is bullshit, let's go. And then people weren't people weren't eating there, not because of what we were doing, but because of their reaction to it. And so, like, you know, eventually they kind of figured out that they didn't really have the time to do all that, so then they were just like, okay, fine. You know, if they have money, they can come in, they can buy pizza, but if they come in here and they fuck up, it's no good. You know, people got to eat crappy pizza after that, you know?
Just to go a little further into detail, when we chalked Papa John's, the entire action took almost 2 weeks from the day that they decided not to serve the homeless to, you know, the first attack. And you have to understand the location of Papa John's is 2 doors from John Keener's office, which is the Downtown Business Association. So when we chalked Shattuck, what started in front of Papa John's, of course, spread down to the DBA, so the theater got chalked, and then it continued on down the sidewalk to the end of the block. And then somebody down in the next block must have gotten some chalk because it went down that block. The other way, same thing happened. It was all over where the New Bart Plaza is as well. So when it jumped across the street, you know, and it wasn't just us. It started with 3 or 4 of us, but it spread to the homeless community who were very pissed. They eat the $1.25 crap that Papa John's serves. That's one of their main meals. So they all responded. Eventually, Papa John's gave in because the video that I shot of them denying the homeless food made it to corporate headquarters. I do understand, and I also have it on tape, that a letter was issued from the Downtown Business Association to restaurants on that block requesting that they don't give water to the homeless. Papa John's took it to the next level and decided not to serve them food. So that's what started the whole thing. You know, it's a Downtown Business Association targeting behaviors that only homeless people, tend to participate in, like carrying all your gear, or having to sit on the sidewalk or take up more than, 9 square feet on sidewalk. These are all laws that target, things that are required. So we still do it. I'm down with barbecuing on the sidewalk. There's no reason why we can't cook. Are we going to burn the sidewalk? Anyways.
Any last minute comments or questions?
What do you guys think of the Tough Shed programs that Oakland has been setting up?
First off, I believe they're toxic. Okay? I contacted the Tough Shed company and I asked them what the floor was made out of. They said all the floors in their units are made out of pressure-treated wood. There's 2 types of pressure-treated. One is copper, one is arsenic. I think that's how it goes. The arsenic is the one that'll kill you if you touch it. The copper, you have to actually breathe it in or ingest it. But if you got it on the floor and you got your doors closed and you're in there with another person moving around on that floor, you're getting dust up. So yeah, it's not safe. The truth is with these Tough Sheds, if you look at the Tough Shed site and look at their tiny homes for $5,000, you could get a Tough Shed tiny home. So Oakland was too cheap. I believe they spent $1,200 on those sheds. They could have spent $3,800 more and provided something that was safe for living in, And Tough Shed won't respond when I say, are these sheds safe to live in? They won't touch it. So if you guys really want to stick it to the city of Oakland, start putting the pressure on Tough Shed to admit that pressure-treated lumber on the bottom is not safe.
Do we have any final question? Any good last questions? Yep, 2 hands.
Hi, thank you all. I'm thinking about when there is, because the support is building for sanctioned encampments, and so when that does happen, if you could speak to the importance of the system of governance being self-governed, because I could easily see a situation where they're sanctioned but with police presence constantly, or with some other system of governance that might not work as well. And I'm just curious, in your experience, if you could speak to different structures that you've experienced and why self-governance is so important, and maybe how it's, some details about how that works.
Good question.
Okay, the only way to answer this question is to ask Stacy, how many times have the cops been at camp?
At least 7 that I know of.
Okay, 2.5 years in an apartment community in South Oakland. How many times do you think the police showed up to the apartment community? So the truth is, it's about the same. There's no difference. You guys can all make your own minds and you can make your own decisions. Homeless people don't get that. Our decisions are made for us, from what time we get up in the morning to what time we go to bed at night to what foods we get to eat during the day. I'm saying that that's not right. We're all adults. We can make the proper decisions. And with the rules and regulations in camp, the biggest one, no drugs or alcohol, and the other one is a good neighbor policy. Everybody knows how to respect each other. We just need to remember how to respect each other.
When I got to the legislature in Oregon, that was something that I was able to point out to them that I think they actually listened to a little bit, that they're making decisions how they're spending all this money without having any contact with people, so they don't even know what they're spending money on. They might as well take that money and just throw it in the trash can in most cases, because that's how effective it is when it actually gets spent. They really need to assess that much closer and make sure that the money that is being spent on something that's benefiting people, because they're really missing on that one.
think we actually have one more question here.
I think it's significant to look for and recognize an agenda by the part of the people in control and power and wealth between having people unhoused, having people in prison, and controlling people's choice whether or not they take drugs or not, and how the legal system bears on that. I want to say these days things have changed, but I want to say that I personally don't give a damn if people want to choose substances or not, and it's the way it's set up, and it should be, they should get the best and reasonable quality of things and not stuff that is really toxic. That's important. But I think that we have to look at the big picture of control and oppression and trying to be genocidal and damn people who are vulnerable in any way, people who don't have homes, people of color, the whole 9 yards. And there was a fire behind the apartment complex I live in recently, and there was an encampment behind there. Now, there was lots of debris, and the city never came and said, we want you to be safe, we want to bring porta potties, we want to make the situation better, because as I heard later, the people from the building had been calling, but there was a fire. As I know it, no one was hurt, the building wasn't hurt, but the people in the affordable housing building were saying horrific, horrendous things about the people who were in the tents. And I told them, if you're going to say stuff like that about people and you don't care about buildings, don't go to church. I was so infuriated by the way they were speaking, and then someone was picking at people another day, and I told them to shut up. I think it's despicable how the system pits people who don't have a lot, who are low income, against each other. So there are 2 points I was trying to make about watching how they pit people against each other and the ways that the system genocidally treats people and all the elements. I think it's a rise maybe in fascism or something that has an overview. And be mindful of that, think about it individually and together, please, because it's not, I don't believe, separate individual issues only. It is each one, but, so thank you very much for letting me speak so much, but, and thank you very much for the film. It was very good, it was simple, basic, and to the point, and it's appreciated. Thank you.
Any final comments?
Yeah, thank you all for coming on this very, very sweaty evening. It's getting a little better right now. So yeah, we're gonna end, but feel free to stick around, talk to each other. There's still some food and hopefully still cold water. Also, there's Gerald with Sarah's CDs on the back if you would like to get Sarah's CD. And, oh yeah, sign up for a mailing list if you want to get updated about all the films that we're showing. We're doing a series of films, and actually the next one is coming next Sunday at 5 p.m. We're going to show this beautiful film, Tanks Untied. It's a documentary, a very experimental, poetic documentary, and that's going to be happening in the basement. It's more, it's going to be cooler there too. So yeah, hang around, talk to each other, sign up on our listserv, and grab a flyer for our screening.